Hey. Hey, CO. I turned to the glass where someone was banging a fist against the barrier between me and them. I'd been working at Stragview for about half a year, one of the latest graduating classes from the academy. I didn't quite have the sand for confinement, and I wasn't really fond of the rough and tumble like the guys who worked the yard. No, I like to pay my bills and go home with exactly as many holes as I had when I came to work. Hence, why I was often stuck here in B-dorm with the dorm rats. B-dorm held all the workers, especially since E-dorm had been forbidden to do grounds work anymore. Mine was the dorm that had the food service, the groundskeepers, the medical orderlies, the confinement orderlies, anything really. It was usually a dull existence. In between pulling workers and sending them to their assigned areas, my biggest concern was finding a good book to read. But sometimes there were other difficulties. Difficulties like this fellow here, who had decided to try my patience with something that was undoubtedly of very little consequence. He had raised his fist to knock again when I slammed the flap open hard enough to make him jump. Bang on my window one more time, and you'll be picking your crap up off the quad when I get done tossing your bunk. Now what do you want? He reached into his bag, the net bag where they keep all their laundry, and pulled out a pair of boxers with a long brown streak up the back. This is the second time this week I've gotten a pair of dirty boxers, Sarge. I need clean underwear. This is not acceptable. He stopped talking when he saw the look on my face. I'll take care of it, I told him through gritted teeth. He left the boxers on the ledge, and I called Gilbert, the B1 houseman. Gilbert's an old-timer, 50 if he's a day, but he's probably the best cleaner at the prison. He takes the god-awful selection of chemicals that Caustics provides us and does wonders with them. He cleans the showers, waxes the floors, keeps the man smell to a minimum, and generally keeps the dorm livable. He also dispenses the clothes when they come in, so he'd be the first one to talk to about the state of the laundry. He came up on the run, and I directed him to the laundry room near the back of the dorm, where I showed him the dirty underwear. Any idea what's going on with these? Gilbert shook his head. Nah, Sarge, it's been happening a lot, though. I wash my drawers in the sink now to stop this from happening. Well, is there any way that we can talk to someone who works in laundry? Gilbert shook his head. Nah, I don't think so. I pulled my eyebrows together. Why not? What side do they live on? I'll just have a word with them. They don't live in B-dorm, boss. They fired all the laundry guys in B-dorm a couple of weeks ago. Didn't you know that? I should have, but I didn't. I went to the station and checked the schedule, but Gilbert was right. Laundry was no longer on the list. No problem, I thought. Maybe they had just given the contract to E-dorm, so they had something to do. I dialed up E-dorm and asked the officer if they were responsible for the workers for the laundry room. I figured after she checked her list, she would confirm my suspicions, and then I'd ask her to yell at them for their poor work. Instead, what she told me was, nope, E-dorm doesn't have any work contracts. Not after that nonsense at Halloween. I assumed that B-dorm was providing the workers. I called a few other dorms, but none of them were providing the laundry workers for any of the shifts. So I called the captain to see if he knew. He was a little grumpy about being bothered by a question that should have been obvious. Well, duh, it's one of the programs allocated to Miss Evergreen. I'd forgotten about Miss Evergreen. She'd been at the prison for about a month and a half, and she had spent most of that time lurking and observing. She came to the dorms and asked questions about what we did and how things worked. She was very interested in the day-to-day operation of the prison, and now it appeared they were giving her things to do. Okay, well, where's she getting her workers from? I'm sure I don't know, but I do know I have things to do that don't involve answering silly questions. Get back to work and don't worry about it. I got back to work, but I never quite stopped worrying about it. I found myself looking at the laundry room building, wondering who was working in there. They never came out, and they never stopped. The lights were on 24/7, and the hum of the dryers and the washers was a constant. Laundry carts came out, but no one ever came out with them. What's more, I never saw any food go to the laundry building. Whoever was in there, they were getting food brought in from the outside, and I came to believe that it must be outside workers. That made sense, but there were no new cars in the parking lot either. I didn't see anyone new at the canteen, no new faces in training, so just who were the ones working in the laundry room? It became kind of a mania in me, and I had to know. The opportunity presented itself in a strange way one evening. The call came to B-Dorm on one of those nights when I actually had a helping hand, and the sergeant working the yard had a very modest request. I need you to do the body alarm test tonight. I have the box of alarms in my office, so just come and grab them after count clears and get after it. I told him I would do it, but inside I was pumping my fist. Body alarms are these little boxes you wear on your uniform, so you can press it if you're in trouble. Most officers don't use them. They think they're silly, but we still have to test them. We hit the buttons at different areas on the compound to find holes in the network. We do it every night without fail, and one of the places we do it is laundry. I came to the captain's office to find gate keys in the body alarm box just sitting on the desk. I went to the rec yard first. As much as I just wanted to go to laundry and see it, I'd decided that I'd go to laundry last. If I got caught and there were questions, I could always just tell them that I was going to go do the body alarm test. Most of the time, you could get away with a lot of things if you just pretended you were supposed to be there. Don't believe me? Wear a high-visibility vest to a construction site and see who asks you for ID. Anyway, I went to the rec yard, the barber shop, and the canteen office, where I triggered the alarms. I wouldn't have to go into laundry, I told myself. I remembered from my time in training that there were big glass windows on the main door. All I needed to do was peek in, to get a good look at their uniforms and how many were there, and it might help to solve the mystery. That would be enough. Just a quick look. I triggered the body alarm for the captain's office, center gate, and food service. Maybe if I could double back around to the rear while I was checking, I could see how they were getting in. Unless I thought they were using a tunnel of some kind. Everyone had heard the rumors about the tunnels under Stragview, especially the story about the secret prison underneath this one. But most of us thought it was all bullshit. That being said, secret tunnels for quick evacuation wouldn't be too far outside the realm of possibility. My mind was whirring with possibilities as I got closer to my goal, and I was giddy with anticipation. I triggered the body alarms for education, the library, and property. What if, my mind wondered, it was something really crazy? What if it was like mole men or monsters or illegal migrant workers or something? This was Stragview, and nothing was really off the table. People always talked about ghosts and ghouls in this place, monsters in the grass and monster rats under the prison, so why was the idea of monsters in the laundry room any weirder? I triggered the alarm for medical, dental, and mental health, and suddenly it was time to go check on my suspicions. Normally, whoever was doing laundry would just stick their arm through the hole in the fence and trigger the body alarm. But I had a plan for that. I put my arm through the opening in the fence and pretended to trigger the button before calling Control to see if I'd gotten a signal. Control, do you copy the body alarm for laundry? Negative, Officer Huffsler. I pretended to do it again, and they again told me that they had no body alarm triggered. They suggested I get closer, and I told them that I would. I had keys to the gate, so I opened the service gate to the laundry room and dummy locked it behind me just in case. If I needed to make a quick escape, I didn't want to worry with locks and gates. I slunk towards the laundry room building, probably looking guilty as hell, and triggered the alarm. Controls said they had a confirmed signal and that the alarm check was successful. I put the box under my arm and checked through the little window as I got low. It was dark inside, but I imagined I could see something. It was subtle, but there was something moving in there. Beyond the door was a little observation post where the laundry officer usually sat, and I let myself in as I crept inside to take an even closer look. I crept inside, hunkering behind the desk, and as I peeked out, I saw that my assessment of something strange hadn't even come close. They were walking the floor, doing laundry, folding clothes, and under the safety lights, they were damn near transparent. It wasn't until they moved into the dark corners that I saw them closer, and I saw them far closer than I wanted to. They were ghosts or spirits or something. They were clearly inmates, or had been, and they made up a ghostly crew of bodies that shuffled and went about their tasks. There was no need for guards or custodians. These inmates went about their tasks quickly and efficiently. Some of them looked normal enough, pale and ghostly, but like regular folks, but some of them had blood on their forms or purple marks on their throats or around their eyes. A fellow shuffled by with a cart as I watched, and I could see a long slash mark on his neck. Another had finger marks on his neck, and the capillaries of his eyes were red and pulsating. I felt my lower lip tremble. The warden was using the spirits of Stragview to do his laundry. I knew there were plenty of ghosts in this place. Violence was at a premium around here, but seeing them put to work was something else. This was weird, even by this place's standards. I didn't know how they had done it, but they'd managed to make this place work for them yet again. I must have peeked a little too long, however, because I suddenly felt eyes on me, and the feeling was like bugs on my skin. I glanced towards it and saw someone standing over by the dryer, a big galoot with a ripped open throat and angry staring eyes who was glaring at me with hatred. Whether he saw me or not, I wasn't sure, but I scuttled and managed to make it through the door and back out the gate before anyone came after me. I dropped off the body alarms and the keys, but the control guard must have seen something on my face because he asked if everything was okay. I told him it was fine. I was just a little winded from walking so far, and he wished me a good night as I went back to my dorm. I thought I had made it out scot-free, but as I was getting ready to leave that morning, I got a call from the captain. "Warden wants to talk with you," he said, sounding about as excited as I was. "He say why?" I asked, thinking I had a pretty good idea why. "No, but he rarely does." So after my relief got there, I headed for the tower, walked up the spiral staircase, and knocked on the iron door at the top. I knew the warden was using it as an office, but it almost looked like he was living here. Did he ever leave? Maybe he found it easier to live on site, but I could think of better places to lay my head. The tower was creepy, a creaking relic of a bygone age, and the walk up the stairs had been very unsafe feeling. "Come in, Officer Huffsler." If the tower was creepy, then the lair of the warden was like something out of a Dracula novel. It was all hardwood and long bookshelves, tapered candles, and trophy cases of strange objects. And there, in the middle, was the warden, with his big orange tomcat on his desk. The two glowered at me, but the warden's mouth was smiling as he did it. "I heard you had a little adventure last night," he said, steepling his fingers and grinning even wider. "I suppose. I had to do the body alarm test, but that was about my only adventure. He responded, the noise resonating in his throat. Well, whatever you may have seen while you were doing your duty, I trust you'll keep it to yourself. I don't think it was nearly as bad as you believe, and you may not have understood what you saw. Let's keep it on the hush for now. What do you say? I nodded, not having to be asked twice. I still didn't quite believe what I'd seen, but I didn't for a minute think I had mistaken it for something else. Those had been dead people, people who no longer lived, and this smiling ghoul wasn't going to convince me otherwise. I'll let you get some sleep, he said, but as my hand wrapped around the doorknob, he threw out his last word on the matter. I don't want to hear any rumors about laundry, though. We wouldn't want it to get back that you were telling tales. I didn't answer. I just left, and I haven't been near laundry since. From now on, I'll just stick my arm through the gate like everyone else and let my curiosity stay unsated.